Hi guys, how are you all? This is FJ What If. Today we are going to discuss about what if Naruto was summoner of Shinigami Part 2. Before start the episode, please like and subscribe my channel. Chapter 2. 1 week later, Naruto was finally released from the hospital with Tsunade's approval and immediately went to his apartment. Jiraiya told him that they would be leaving the next day, so that would be enough time for Naruto to tie up any loose ends he had. The blonde had said goodbye to all his friends in that week and told them that he would get stronger in no time. Everyone seemed sad about Naruto leaving, especially Hinata, but they knew that they would see him again. Currently, Naruto was packing his bags full of essentials for his trip, but if one looked close enough they would see that the blonde wasn't entirely focused on packing, but more or less what he could do as the Shinigami's summoner. Those conditions that Naruto knew about had occupied his mind for that entire week. He thought about all the good it could do him to revive people as well as have someone as powerful as the Shinigami. The blonde knew, however, that this was a delicate situation. He might have been dumb and clueless at times, but he was far from stupid. He knew that something like this would be impossible to explain to anyone, especially Tsunade and Jiraiya. If word found out about this, then there would be so many problems that it wasn't even funny. The blonde imagined all the happy faces people would have from loved ones and things like that, but what would they do if he said no to them? Would they force him to do it? Would he be deemed a traitor for him helping his village? Aren't you overthinking this a bit? His tenant asked, making its presence known. Naruto broke from his thought and continued packing. It wasn't like he wanted to overthink something like this, but the whole situation made it that way. It's not that, I guess. I've just never felt so responsible before. This is heavy furball. I guess I'm glad that Shin's interested in me, but I can only wonder about the good I can do with him, Naruto said, and Kyuubi allowed its tails to thrash around for a bit out of boredom. Humph, if it was me, I'd immediately just revive the closet thing to me and kill all of you for compensation, Kyuubi said with a sly grin. Naruto narrowed his eyes and looked up at the ceiling. And that's why you're stuck in there in the first place, Naruto said, bringing Kyuubi's mood down and making the fox growl at him. The blonde chuckled at his tenant and looked at his room. His lonely room that hadn't been in the best of shape. He always tried to keep it clean, but he had always been training, so there wasn't much of full use for it besides sleep. It was then that Naruto remembered when Shin said that he could revive anyone, and at the time, Naruto immediately thought about his parents. They were the first thing that popped in his head when he heard that. He wondered what it would be like to see his mother, his father. To hold them and see their smiles on his face, but he wondered if he were disrespecting them by wanting to that wish. He also wondered what it would be like for others. How Gaara and his siblings would feel, Hinata and her mother, Neji and his father. Even Sasuke and his family. He could just see Sasuke shocked at the thought of his parents being alive. It all sounded like a good idea, but then there was the second part of the condition. He had to kill 2 people for every 1 person he revived. One to fill the void of the revived soul, and the second as a payment to the Shinigami. Don't tell me you're scared of killing someone, brat. In your line of work, the fact that you haven't really killed anyone yet is amazing. Time to grow up and see how the world works, brat, Kyuubi said, and Naruto looked at the ground. He wanted to argue that against Kyuubi, but he knew that the furball was right. Naruto didn't have the experience that went with killing someone. He had seen deaths before that ranged from Haku and Zabuza to his Gigi. It wasn't a pleasant experience, and the thought of Naruto doing that was felt ridiculous. I suppose, Naruto said as he finished the last of his packing and got to his bed. He put on his pajamas and went to sleep, leaving his thoughts behind for the next morning. Next morning, Naruto groggily woke up and rubbed his eyes from the intense sunlight. The blonde yawned and got out of bed. It was a terrible night. He barely got any sleep at all. The blonde had been thinking all night, but now was the time to get ready. Naruto got to his feet and quickly took a shower. He felt revived from the feeling of hot water on his body and watched it trickle down his form. His spiky hair fell down and covered his face while the blonde leaned on the wall. He stayed in the shower for about 20 minutes before getting out and wrapping a towel over his waist. He came up to his closet and saw the last of his orange jumpsuit and snorted. Why'd he have to tell me to change my attire? I like orange, Naruto said to himself, and Kyuubi rolled his eyes at his container. Are you kidding? You stick out like a sore thumb in that thing. I'll admit that orange goes well with certain colors, but it's not good being the dominant color. Shinigami nailed it right on the head, Kyuubi said, making Naruto growl. The whole world was against him wearing orange. It wasn't that bad of a color, was it? Naruto sighed and decided to put on his signature jumpsuit and grabbed his bag, scrolls and ninja tools for his trip with Jiraiya. He was excited at the thought of getting stronger. He really wanted to bring Sasuke back to Konoha, but the blonde knew that he had his own dreams and ambitions. That wouldn't change for him. He would be more than happy to bring the Uchiha back to his village, but he wouldn't obsess over it. He wouldn't be like Sasuke and have a simple one-track mind. Having grabbed all of his things, Naruto closed the door to his apartment, which wouldn't be opened for the next 2 years, and walked down the stairs. He quickly made it to the streets of Konoha and looked at the various people bustling around. He looked at all the sights and took them to memory since he knew he wouldn't be back for a bit. I'm gonna miss this place, Naruto said, coming up to the gates of Konoha. The blonde saw Jiraiya waiting for him near the gates along with Tsunade, Shizune, and Kakashi. Good morning, Naruto said, and Jiraiya leaned up from the wall his was leaning against. Gaki, you're early, Jiraiya said, and Naruto shrugged his shoulders. He figured that they should just go and get walking. There was no more use in staying in Konoha anymore, so he just decided to follow Jiraiya out of the village. Yeah, I guess I'm just excited, Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head. Jiraiya chuckled with a nod while Shizune and Kakashi grinned. Tsunade walked up to Naruto and placed her hand on his shoulder. Come back, brat. It's gonna be boring without you, Tsunade said, and before Naruto could respond, she grabbed him into a fierce, but kind hug. Naruto hugged her back and stepped away. I will, Tsunade Bachan. Just keep that Hokage seat warm for me until I get back, Naruto said, making Tsunade's eyebrow twitch. She proceeded to grab his cheeks and squeeze them hard. You really have a mouth, you know that, Tsunade said while Naruto yelled out in pain. She finally let go and Naruto rubbed his cheek while sticking his tongue out at her. Tsunade glared at Naruto and simply waved it off. She had no idea what made her think she would miss Naruto, but the truth was that she would. She really couldn't wait till he got back. It would be amazing to see how much he would grow. Take care, Naruto-kun, Shizune said, giving Naruto a softer hug. Naruto grinned with a nod and came up to Kakashi. The Jonin was still reading his book, but patted Naruto on the shoulder. You're not a kid anymore, Naruto. Come back stronger than you are now, Jiraiya said to him and lowered his book, which showed an eye smile to the blonde. Naruto nodded and was about ready to go. He turned to Jiraiya and the Toad Sage smiled at him. Come on, Naruto. We've got to get moving, Jiraiya said before Naruto raised an eyebrow. I thought you said I was early, Naruto said, and Jiraiya shrugged his shoulders. No use spending time here. I already have our first destination in mind, so let's go. We've got a lot of ground to cover, Jiraiya said, walking past the gates. Naruto nodded and immediately the two set off away from the village. Naruto turned back to look at Konoha one last time and sighed before moving back with Jiraiya. He's gonna be a headache when he gets back, Tsunade said, and Kakashi had to nod in agreement with her. Shizune merely smiled and walked back to the Hokage mansion. Tsunade walked back with her and Kakashi shunshined out of sight to take care of some other business that he had to deal with. With Jiraiya and Naruto, the master and student duo had been walking for a while now, but much to Jiraiya's surprise, the trip was relatively quiet for the most part. Sure, they just started and weren't that far from the village, but he thought Naruto would be bugging the hell out of him with what he would be learning. However, as luck would or wouldn't have it, Naruto was in some deep thought that obviously continued from last night. He wondered about some of the issues that would revolve his life, and while he seemed to like the positive, he wasn't blind to the reality that things could go to hell for him. Naruto still seemed to be off in his own little world. He wasn't even really paying attention to where he was going. Jiraiya had never pegged Naruto for a deep thinker about anything, so this was entirely new to him. Hey brat, we've been traveling for 20 minutes and you haven't said a word the entire time. What's the matter with you? Jiraiya asked, and immediately Naruto snapped from his thoughts. He hadn't realized that he was thinking so much. Oh, sorry, Ero-sennin, just thinking about this training that you're going to have me do. I'm gonna learn some killer techniques, right? Naruto asked, making Jiraiya sigh. So that's what it was, or so he believed. Always training with you, eh? Of course I'm gonna teach you something good, but not today. We'll begin first thing tomorrow. You'd better be prepared, brat, Jiraiya said, and Naruto's eyes gleamed in excitement. He could only imagine the great things that he would be able to do after his training was complete. Soon silence reigned with the two again, and Naruto looked at the ground. He seemed confused, or rather uncertain of something. The blonde looked up and turned to his teacher for the next 2 years. Arrow Sennin, what was your first kill like? Naruto asked, making the toad sage narrow his eyes at the unusual question. Naruto already was unusual, but to add that question made him even more unusual. Jiraiya turned to see the blonde looking at the ground before he looked back up at the road in front of him. What's with this question? It's not like you, Gaki, Jiraiya said, getting a little worried. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and softly smiled, but the look in his eyes told Jiraiya that the blonde was contemplating something. I guess it's curiosity. Sorry for being weird about it. I just wanted to know how you dealt with it. I wonder if you'll have me fighting bandits or something, so I just thought I'd be prepared for whatever, Naruto said, and while Jiraiya could see the small logic in Naruto's thinking, he was still concerned, though against his better judgment he decided to tell Naruto. For me it didn't go well. I really thought low of myself to kill someone. It was back when I was a genin like you. I cried and cursed myself. I even stopped eating for about 5 days. Luckily Sarutobi-sensei and Tsunade helped me deal. Orochimaru tried, but he wasn't the comforting type, but he told me in his own way. They just reminded me that this was a part of my job and it came with the responsibility. As long as I don't find the joy in it, then I'm still human, Jiraiya said, and Naruto nodded like he had just affirmed something for himself. Jiraiya saw the small smile on Naruto's face, and the sight of it made the man's heart lighten a little. He then spotted the seal on Naruto's right hand and gazed at it. It looked very complex and powerful. Even he, with all his knowledge on Fuinjutsu, didn't know what type of seal it was. Hey Naruto, what's that seal on your hand? Jiraiya asked. Naruto mentally gulped and cursed that he didn't have the common sense to try and hide the damn thing. Of course people would ask him where he got something like this. Who wouldn't? Even Sakura asked what it was, and she normally didn't take any interest in what Naruto did. The blonde looked at his seal, his connect to the Shinigami, the god of death. Oh, this is a storage seal that someone made for me. They said that it could help me with my training. It's supposed to keep my other chakra from getting too wild and allowing me to control it better, Naruto said, hoping that was enough to get by. Jiraiya looked at the blonde intently, and Naruto tried his hardest to look calm so that Jiraiya would buy it. He mentally gulped and was about to break down, but luckily for him Jiraiya stopped and turned to the road. That's one nicely made seal. For me to not even know it must be something good. Well, we'll see about during your training, Jiraiya said, and Naruto accepted that. He could pass this off, but it made the blonde burn into his mind that he needed to get his right hand covered. It didn't matter with what, but it just needed to be covered at the moment. Close call, huh, brat? Kyuubi asked, snickering since he watched the scene in front of his container's eyes. He could almost laugh his heart out when he saw that. Meanwhile, Naruto grumbled at his tenant. That wasn't funny, furball. I thought I was gonna get found out for a second. Man, that was scary, Naruto said, mentally making Kyuubi giggle. So are you finally going to stop acting like a wimp and kill somebody, or are you still worried about that? Kyuubi asked, and Naruto looked at the ground. He wasn't sure if he was still alright with killing someone, but for his parents he would do anything. He was sure that he would have a tough time dealing with it, but he was sure that he could work it out. He was Naruto Uzumaki. He never backed down. Sure, he was unsure about it, but he thought it would be right. He could only hope that when his parents were brought back, then they would feel the same way. He then widened his eyes and looked at Jiraiya with a sigh. Arrow Sennin, do you think we could go shopping also? I need some new clothes, Naruto said, and Jiraiya stopped walking. Naruto stopped a bit in front of him and raised an eyebrow. Arrow Sennin, Naruto asked, and immediately the blonde was brought into a hug. I knew you weren't a lost cause kid. You're damn right, we'll go shopping and get you out of that damn orange monstrosity you call clothing. I can't believe you finally see the light, Jiraiya said, crying, and Naruto sweat dropped. Oh come on, was orange really that bad that Jiraiya had to cry tears of joy that Naruto was changing his attire? I still want some orange in it. No matter what you think, orange is cool and I like it. Naruto yelled and Jiraiya sighed before setting the blonde down. Deal, kid. This might be a good trip after all. Let's hurry, the first town is still quite a ways away. We'll be there by nightfall if we hurry, Jiraiya said, picking up the pace. Naruto nodded and ran after his sensei with a simple smile on his face. Atafaka Guy, homely woman town. Naruto and Jiraiya had just made it to their first stop for the day. It was the same town where Naruto had met Itachi for the first time. It still brought back memories of the time he saw Sasuke get crushed by his brother like the Uchiha was nothing to him. It was that same Itachi who killed his entire clan and made Sasuke the person he was, even though Sasuke had a part in that himself. The sun was still high in the sky for Naruto, so they were still making some good time. He wondered why Jiraiya wanted to stop here, but he got his answer when he saw Jiraiya's perverse giggling while he dashed off to the nearest brothel he could find, leaving Naruto to his own devices. Perverted old man, Naruto said in thought. Immediately after registering them, Jiraiya shot off. It was a sad day to be the apprentice of the Toad Sage for Naruto Uzumaki. Having placed his things on the floor next to his bed, Naruto got up and stretched his legs for a bit. He had been walking for quite a while and his feet were killing him, but he did have other things on his mind at the moment. Naruto looked at the seal on his right hand and sighed. It really wasn't that simple after all, was it? Sigh, even if I do call the Shinigami for my parents, I doubt he knows them specifically from all the souls he has. The only ones who probably even have a hint about it are Tsunade Bachan, since she's the Hokage, and possibly Erosenin, since he knows just about everything that goes on in Konoha. Man, I should have asked Tsunade Bachan about it before we left. I wouldn't have put it past Gigi to know who my parents were also. I wonder why they won't tell me. Granted, I never really asked, but still, Naruto thought. He knew nothing about his mother or father other than the fact that they lived in Konoha and that they loved him a lot. He didn't know if they were shinobi or civilian. He knew next to nothing, but that's why he was so excited. To get to know his parents. What child didn't want that? Would you stop complaining and do it already? Man, you can't make up your damn mind. I would do it in a heartbeat, Kyuubi said, and Naruto narrowed his eyes. I don't know anything about them. How do I know if Shin can bring them back if I'm not specific? Naruto asked, and the Kyuubi sighed. So ask him. He said you could summon him twice a day, so do it. Man, you're so damn irritating with your whole, I want my parents back, but killing people is bothering me, thing, Kyuubi said, and Naruto sighed. Well, sorry for not being a heartless fox demon that could kill everyone in a matter of seconds, Naruto said, and Kyuubi snarled. You better be lucky I'm in this cage, brat, or I'd kill you where you stood, Kyuubi spoke, making Naruto roll his eyes. Whatever, furball, Naruto said before the two cut their argument short. The blonde bit his left thumb and traced the blood across the seal. Kuchio's no jutsu, Naruto yelled out, and immediately the light shined again, making the blonde cover his eyes from the light. Naruto looked around for his summon again, but didn't see him. He was about to curse, but then remembered the last time. Naruto quickly turned around and grinned when he saw Shin right behind him, like he thought. You're not sneaking up on me this time, Naruto said, and the Shinigami looked at the blonde with its gazing stare on him. Well, you certainly picked an interesting time to summon me. Now you can only summon me one more time for today, so what do you want? Shin asked with his arms folded. What's wrong with you? Naruto asked, and Shin sighed. He really had nothing wrong with him, and he didn't mind being summoned by Naruto in the least. Sorry, I've really got no reason. Maybe it's that I don't like being summoned for just a casual conversation, the Shinigami said to the blonde. Naruto nodded and stood to his feet and rubbed the back of his head. It's not for casual conversation, Shin. I actually have a question about the resurrection thing that you said I could do, Naruto told him. Shin raised an eyebrow and nodded while waiting for his summoner to tell him what it was. Alright, what do you want to know? The Shinigami asked. Naruto nodded and looked at the ground for a second before turning back to the Shinigami. When I ask for you to revive someone, do I have to be specific? I figured that with all the souls you have, then you wouldn't know who I wanted if I just asked, Naruto said, and the Shinigami nodded. That was a good question that Naruto asked, as far as the Shinigami knew, and who was he to deny his summoner an answer? Well, I can keep track of all the souls, but if you want someone specific, then a name does help my search, just in the very slim chance that I get it wrong. Also some defining characteristics, but names are generally alright, Shin said, and Naruto knew it and cursed. He didn't know either of his parents' names, and that infuriated the blonde, but at least Shin told him so he could do the appropriate thing. Alright, if I ask you to revive someone, then how long will I have to kill the 2 required people? Naruto asked. The Shinigami looked at him and raised an eyebrow before it thought over his question. At the most you have 1 of your human weeks. You only get 1 week, and if I don't have the 2, then I'll take the soul back. On the chance that you have 1 kill, but not the other, then you have a week and a half. So if you kill 1 person of the 2, but couldn't deliver the other to me, then you get an extra 4 days, Kyuubi said, and Naruto widened his eyes. So he could do it that way. Alright, thank you, Shin. I'll summon you if I have anything else, Naruto said, and the Shinigami nodded, then began to fade into nothingness, leaving Naruto all alone in the room. Well, almost alone. Are you happy now? Sheesh, now get that toad sage to tell you about your parents. It's like you said, he's a Sannin, so he should know about you if he's willing to train you. There is no doubt that he knows who your parents are, Kyuubi said, and Naruto nodded in agreement with his Biju for once in his life. I suppose you're right. Guess I'll just have to ask him straight out and hope for the best. I'll get him to talk, Naruto said with a grin while Kyuubi rolled his eyes. He had such a weird container. Nighttime. Naruto sighed as he waited for Jiraiya. The damn guy was taking so fucking long to get back. Could he really spend that much time at a brothel and not come back? He must have been fucking broke by now. In all that time, Naruto was busy thinking about his parents the whole time. He had even tried to do the Rasengan with 1 hand instead of the clone, since using a clone took too much time and he would need every second that he could use in a fight for his life. He had only a little success with it. He had left earlier to buy balloons for help, but that it was harder than he thought. He remembered when Jiraiya only did it with 1 hand. He didn't even use his other hand to handle the rotation of it. He really had mastered the Rasengan, even if he was a good-for-nothing pervert. Naruto was currently working on his leaf exercise for the time being. He was actually making a new record for himself. He really didn't like this patient type of thing, but if he was going to get stronger, then he would need to have better chakra control. However, it didn't take long for Naruto's concentration to be interrupted by the turning of a lock by a key, and the blonde turned to see Jiraiya coming through the door completely drunk. The blonde sweat dropped as he watched Jiraiya giggle. Hee hee hick, hey brat. Man, that hick girl was wonderful. You need a girl, Naruto, or you'll be a hick virgin for the rest of you hick life, hee hee hee, Jiraiya said with his voice completely slurred. Naruto sighed and stood to his feet. Man, you're drunk. I guess I'm not getting anything out of you today. Damn it, Kami hates me, Naruto said, grabbing Jiraiya. Hold it, brat. Kami might actually like you. I tell you, drunk people are open like a book. Try getting it out of him now. I doubt he'd remember it tomorrow anyway. Just try, and if it doesn't work, then you'll just have to try something else, Kyuubi said, and Naruto squinted his face. Isn't that kind of taking advantage of him? Naruto asked, and Kyuubi held up one of his claws. Well, 1, you're a shinobi, you're supposed to take advantage of others' weaknesses. 2nd, I will give you a certain list. Your money, your time, your patience, no matter how little it is, and even though you didn't ask him, your parents. I think he's taken advantage of you enough, Kyuubi said, and Naruto narrowed his eyes. He really hated it when Kyuubi had his points. He knew he was right, and while Naruto wanted to disagree with that, he very well knew he couldn't. Alright, fine. I doubt this will work, but I'll try, Naruto said, and Kyuubi nodded with a sly grin for its container. It's about time he started to show some talent as a shinobi. Naruto sighed and huffed as he trudged Jiraiya towards his bed. He toad sage was fucking heavy, but Naruto wasn't about to complain. He knew Kyuubi was right. He was a shinobi, and to get information you had to do things that you didn't want to, and this was one of them. Naruto sat Jiraiya on the bed and backed away from him. Jiraiya looked completely buzzed that it made Naruto wonder if this would even work at all. Ero Sennin, who are my parents? Naruto asked him. It was short, sweet, and to the point. No beating around the bush at all for Naruto. Jiraiya giggled a little more for a few seconds and leaned up on the bed. He wouldn't you like to hick no kid? I'll tell you, Minato and Kushina really broke the mold when they had you, Jiraiya said to him. Naruto widened his eyes when he heard their names. Minato and Kushina. Their names sounded so nice and very cool to Naruto. The blonde gulped and continued his actions. Who were they? Naruto asked, and Jiraiya leaned his head to the wall. Are you kidding, kid? Minato Namikaze was considered a genius shinobi. He was the Yondaime Hokage after all, Jiraiya said, talking about his student. Naruto's eyes shot open and the blonde dropped his jaw. His father was the Yondaime. The man he respected all his life was the one who put the Kyuubi inside him. And Kushina Uzumaki, hee. She was such a firecracker. I tell ya, sometimes I wondered who wore the pants in that relationship. She was a beauty, however. Nice long red hair, a slight tomboyish attitude, but still caring. The way she handled a sword was also amazing. It still makes me chuckle when I remember that she was called the Red Death. Quite the looker she was. When she was younger, she had to beat some of the guys with a stick to stop asking her out. She was also unique in many ways. Her chakra was so amazing. She could use her chakra like chains. It was amazing, Jiraiya said, and immediately Naruto was interested. The way Jiraiya talked, it was like his mother was drop-dead gorgeous. He was, however, sad that he couldn't bring back his father. He remembered when Shin told him that he couldn't be brought back since he had used the Shiki Fujin technique. Naruto would have really liked to see his father. To talk with him and his mother. To maybe punch his father in the face or stomach for sealing the Kyuubi inside him, but he was just happy that he got to learn about them. Did they really love me? Naruto asked the drunken Jiraiya. The toad sage chuckled and looked at Naruto while patting him on the shoulder. Kid, they really did love you. When Minato wanted to make you a Jinchuriki, you should have seen Kushina's reaction. She went ballistic on him. Though why, I know. She was the Kyuubi's previous Jinchuriki, Jiraiya said, and Naruto gasped. His mother was the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi before him. Did you know about that? Naruto asked. Kyuubi snorted and rolled his eyes. Please, with how tight they made that damn seal, I didn't know anything. I had no idea who I was trapped inside. It could have been anybody for all I know, Kyuubi said, and Naruto sighed. Alright, Ero Sennin, even though you're drunk, thanks for telling me. I doubt you'll remember this talk, Naruto said as he got up and left the room and turned out the light. Jiraiya giggled a little more, but before long that giggle dropped and Jiraiya gave a small smile along with softened eyes. I guess I played that off quite well. I didn't really want to tell him this early, but I guess he could at least know them. He's at least strong enough for now and he's with me. I can only hope that he learns to keep his mouth shut about his family. Kami only knows what would happen if he starts talking, Jiraiya said to himself with a smile. His sober face looking more and more gentle as he looked at the moon. I'm sure you two would have wanted him to know also. I can only hope that he's good for training tomorrow, Jiraiya said before changing out of his clothes and going to sleep in his bed. With Naruto. Naruto walked the streets of town and went over all that Jiraiya told him. He kept thinking back to his father and mother. The greatest Hokage of Konoha and the best Kenjutsu user of Konoha were both his parents. It was a lot to take in for the blonde. He wasn't sure whether to be happy or sad. Happy that his mother could be revived, happy that he knew his family and happy that they loved him, but sad that his father was gone for good. He sealed the Kyuubi inside him and he hadn't been told about them until just now. Yano Kyuubi, I'm confused right now, Naruto said, and Kyuubi sighed. It knew that this was to be expected from just hearing what Naruto had just heard, so maybe it was like that. I suppose I can understand, but you'd better be happy, brat. Sheesh, just revive the woman already. No doubt she wants to see you too, Kyuubi said, and Naruto nodded in agreement with that. I suppose you're right. Yeah, I can only hope she's not mad at me for what I'm about to do, Naruto said and ran off from the town and deep into the woods. He still wasn't sure about the payment for his mother and her soul, but he'd do it. On that he knew that he would, he promised himself that he would. Naruto came into a secluded spot of the forest and looked around. Kyuubi told him that no one was there and he was alright, which had the blonde confused. Why are you helping me so much? Until a week ago we hated each other, Naruto said, and Kyuubi scoffed at his container. Don't assume anything, brat, or get sentimental on me. I don't know why I'm helping you either. Maybe I'm just bored and need something interesting to happen, Kyuubi said, making sure Naruto understood. The blonde could only chuckle at his tenant and nodded with his usual grin. You mean a lot to me too, furball, Naruto said, and Kyuubi huffed. Whatever, brat, Kyuubi responded, and Naruto bit his left thumb. This was the last time he could summon the Shinigami, so he had to make it count this time. Naruto traced his blood over the seal and yelled, Kuchio's no jutsu. Naruto yelled out, and the same blinding light made Naruto cover his eyes, and he immediately turned around to see Shin right behind him as always. 2 times in one day. I didn't think you'd need me this much already. Alright, what do you want now? The Shinigami asked. Naruto gulped and felt nervous. He had never done this before, so it was all new to him. Shin, I want to revive someone, Naruto said, and the Shinigami raised an eyebrow. He took his sword out of his mouth and took the purplish beads in his hands and gripped them. Wow, already? Alright, I was expecting it much sooner. You are aware of the terms to our contract, right? Shin asked, and Naruto immediately nodded that he was more than aware of what he was getting himself into. He wanted to see his mother and he wanted her to see him. He was still nervous, but his resolve was absolute. For every person I want you to revive, I must kill 2 people. One to fill the revived person's space and the next as compensation to you, Naruto said, and the Shinigami nodded, glad that the blonde fully understood. Good. You have 1 week to honor your side of the contract, the Shinigami said, and Naruto immediately nodded. The Shinigami pressed his beads together and rubbed them with his hands. Naruto watched him go through the process, and so did Kyuubi. The Shinigami drew his sword and wrapped it in the beads. Who would you like to bring back from the dead? The Shinigami asked. Naruto gulped again, but he quickly nodded and balled his fists. My mother, Kushina Uzumaki. The woman with vibrant red hair, also known as the Red Death, Naruto said, and the Shinigami nodded. His eyes glowed a white light and his sword glowed white also. Strange seals started to appear, and before long the entire area was covered in a blinding light. Naruto covered his eyes for a bit as he tried to see, but for all his life he couldn't. The contract is made. Kushina Uzumaki is revived, the Shinigami said, and immediately disappeared. The light disappeared and the night reigned, only with the moon giving the light. Naruto opened his eyes and stared at the lovely woman in front of him. Naruto had to admit that Jiraiya wasn't kidding. Beautiful was an understatement for his mother. She was so gorgeous. Her vibrant red hair, her slender body. She was wearing a high-collared, sleeveless blouse under a long, loose-fitting pale, white skin that glowed in the moonlight and amazing blue eyes. She was wearing some simple, purplish shinobi sandals. Kushina walked into the light and came up to see a blonde with yellow hair and whisker marks. She wasn't sure what was going on, but she knew one thing. That was her son. Only her son had whisker marks on his face. She gently smiled at the shocked expression on his face as she stepped into the moonlight for Naruto to see, and she got a good look at him before giving a small smile. Hello, Naruto-kun. It's your mother. End of chapter 2.